Are we getting new uniforms in 2023 or not? We answer that question coming up next.
You are Locked On Lions, your daily Detroit Lions podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, let's do this, everybody. Matt Dery with you. It is a Tuesday edition, final day of February, Tuesday, February 28th, and a Wednesday, March 1st. It's Locked On Lions on the Locked On Podcast Network. Indeed, your team every day. Again, Matt Dery with you. Thanks for checking us out. Thanks for making us your first listen each and every day and finding us on Twitter at Dery Speaks, at Locked On Lions, the Matt Dery Facebook fan page if you're a Facebook person, and also if you are watching on the Locked On Lions YouTube channel. We got a packed show today, busy show today. Alternative or alternate helmets are in the mix for 2023. What about new uniforms? We're going to tell you coming up. Alex Anzalone speaks on his free agency with our buddy Ross Tucker on the Ross Tucker Football Podcast. We'll play you that audio. A former Lion is released. I'll tell you why the Lions should go nowhere near this guy. John Fox to Detroit? Okay. New defensive line coach and a Mel Kiper mock draft. All of that today here on the program, a Tuesday edition of Locked On Lions. Thanks for checking us out. Combine going on in Indianapolis today. Interesting. I heard Bryce Young measuring at 5'10 and a half. There's no way he's even 5'10 and a half. Could that play a factor in draft picks 1 through 5 before we get to 6 for the Lions? Mel Kiper's got him trading out of 6, similar to what we told you yesterday on Mock Draft Monday from the Draft Network and Damian Parsons. So we got a lot to get into today right here on Locked On Lions. I, for one, if we start the show with this, I, for one, am not somebody who's big into uniforms. I don't care about the black uniforms that the Lions had years ago. I don't really go crazy about color rush. I love the throwbacks. I think the old school Lion throwbacks, I believe they wore on Thanksgiving this year, are the best uniforms the Lions have. Do they need a bit of a touch-up and an update? Absolutely they do. But I'm not one to sit here and tell you that I love or hate uniforms or that uniforms play a role in to me, the Lions team is good. People are going to buy the jerseys. Could the Lions update what they have now? Yes, it's been 6 years. They could use a little bit of an updating. Absolutely, they could. Bubbles, the Bubbles, the lion on the helmet, nicknamed Bubbles by one Arthur J. Ragnar, is fine to me. If you want to go with the sleek, old school lion, great too. I don't really care. What I like seeing is wins. What I like seeing is an exciting team. Uniforms are another thing. I don't really go crazy about it. But you guys, as Lions listeners, viewers of this podcast, everything else, are really into it. So today in the Free Press, or at freep.com, Dave Burkett, legendary Lions beat writer, had a chance to catch up with one Roderick Wood, Lions team president of the Stars and the proprietor of 222 Rod Wood Drive down in Allen Park, where the Lions practice facility is. And Rod Wood told Dave Burkett, no new uniforms yet. They're going to be getting new uniforms in 2024. It's a 2 to 3 year process. The Lions and this Brian guy, their branding guy, are working on it. But for this season, no. They will not have new uniforms for this year. But next year, yes. Wood did put out the caveat, though, that there will be an alternative or alternate helmet this year that the Lions are going to break out. He wouldn't really go into grave detail about it, but he said it's something different. So that gets Lions fans all lathered up and excited. So new alternate helmet. Look, nobody, and I think I heard Rico Beard say this today on the ticket, nothing beats the Chargers uniforms. The LA Chargers uniforms, whether it's the powder blues, the whites, whatever it is, their uniforms are killer. Chargers have the best uniforms. I kind of like old school. I like that the Bears wear the same uniforms and they've worn them for years. I like that the New York Yankees don't change. I'm going to say something nice about the baseball team in town. The Detroit Tigers uniforms are classic. The road grays, the home whites. Tigers don't mess with it. I'm a Guardians fan. We sometimes wear red at home. We sometimes wear blue. We sometimes wear gray. We sometimes wear white. Tigers, white, gray. Classic Old English D. I respect it. I do. I think the organization's a joke, but I think the uniforms are good. They don't mess with it. So Lions going to alternate helmets. We'll have to wait and see. To me, I would wear those throwbacks as much as I could because I think those are very, very cool. So there's that. Some news today. Kenny Golladay, former Lion wide receiver who is a complete and utter bust with the Giants after signing a 4-year, $72 million contract with them a couple of years ago, was released today as a cap casualty. Not a surprise. Kenny couldn't stay healthy and then basically couldn't get back on the field. I mean, he wasn't good when he played. He lost his step, dropped some passes, got booed at the Meadowlands this year. And so now Kenny Golladay is going to be let go by the Giants and will become a free agent. And I'm already seeing people say, should the Lions take another flyer and pick him up for a song and, sign him to a small contract? The answer is no. The Lions need to move on from the past. Bringing back Kenny Golladay, the best thing, and I'll give Bob Quinn some credit. Bob Quinn did not give Kenny Golladay a contract extension. Then when Brad Holmes got here, Brad Holmes didn't even let him walk. Didn't offer him an extension either. Let him hit free agency. And one of the best moves that Brad Holmes made was taking that compensatory draft pick that the Lions got for losing Kenny Golladay a year later and drafting Kirby Joseph with that pick. Think about that for a second. They basically traded Kenny Golladay for Kirby Joseph. So that was a brilliant move by Brad Holmes on two fronts. One, didn't bring him back. Two, used the compensatory pick last year on Kirby Joseph, who was superb as a rookie safety last year out of Illinois. So that was a much, much, much needed move and boost. And by the way, the Lions wide receiving core this past year was fine without Kenny Golladay. The year before, it wasn't very good, but Kenny Golladay wasn't playing and wasn't very good for the Giants. So I like it. I like it that they got Joseph. I like they didn't bring Golladay back. And to be quite honest with you, I wouldn't touch him with a 10-foot pole. He's not good anymore. And he's injury prone. And hopefully he finds a job somewhere else and maybe resurrects his career. But it just did not work in New York at all. As Cosmo Kramer once said, only in New York, but not for Kenny Golladay. All right, we got other news to get to. We got to talk about Mel Kiper Jr.'s mock draft. He's got the Lions trading down. We got a new D-line coach in here. We got to hear the Alex Anzalone audio. We got a lot to do right here on Locked On Lions. But first, let's talk about Built Bars. Some people will say, well, Matt Dery always says on Locked On Lions that he eats Built Bars. Well, look, I got the proof right here. Here's the wrapper. Here's my Built Puffs that I had today. Coconut marshmallow, the best. Love me some Built Puffs. If you're looking for a delicious treat, you don't want all that fat and calories, and you got to try Built Bar. All right? Got through the holidays. Some of you bulked up. Some of you got fat on a bunch of food and everything else. Well, now we're into March, right? You want to get into shape. You want to get back and out of that dad bod or whatever it is. Get yourself a Built Bar. They're healthy. They're delicious. Perfect to lose weight. Something to eat each and every day. 100% real chocolate. That's what they're covered in. Every single bar, whether it's coconut almond, peanut butter brownie, the churro, they're all covered in 100% real chocolate. I mentioned some of the flavors, right? My favorite is the cookies and cream. I had the salted caramel yesterday. Get a box of Built Bars at Built.com. Try them for yourself. You love them. And you put in the code LOCK15, you're going to get 15% off your first order. Or not only can you go to Built.com, but you can get them at Sam's Club and Walmart today. Get that 4-bar box of cookies and cream double chocolate or coconut puffs at Sam's Club or at Walmart. Or go to Sam's Club, grab a 13-bar box with our hit flavors, brownie batter and churro. You can thank me later. It's our friends at Built Bar and at Built.com. Shout out to Mike Vanderpool wearing his Heart of a Lions fan shirt today. And I got some people I've got to get back to about gear. So Everybody that's emailed me about Lions stuff, bear with me. Bear with me. I have not been good on communication. DerySpeaks@gmail.com if you want to get a hold of me, if you want to send me something. I'm working on it. All right, Alex Anzalone, free agent linebacker. What are the Lions going to do with him? A favorite of Aaron Glenn and Dan Campbell's from their days in New Orleans. Alex had a really nice second half of last year, played pretty good football, but shouldn't the Lions be upgrading at linebacker? I think they should be. Alex Anzalone is fine. All right, he's serviceable. He's a good leader. Captain. Played well, especially in week 18, that big 4th down and 1 stop on the reverse and everything else against the Packers. But I think the Lions can upgrade. Our buddy Rob Diddy, Robert Banker, Gaines Media, he loves Alex Anzalone. So here was Alex today on the Ross Tucker podcast, this audio courtesy of the Ross Tucker podcast, when Ross asked him and their Pennsylvania buddies about his future with the Lions. Take a listen to this.
You were a captain. You had an awesome season. What are your emotions like right now going into free agency?
Yeah, it's tough because, like I said, I've been with Dan, for 6 years, and AG or DC for 6 years too. And it's you kind of have to wait and see what happens. Obviously you have to take care of your family at the end of the day and do what's best for them first off. And, that's kind of where I'm at mentally. Just kind of going with the flow, seeing what happens, trying to take care of my family, whatever situation makes most sense. And that's what we'll do.
I know this is one of those where you kind of got to cross that. If it was the same, would you want to go back to Detroit? I mean, is that somewhere where you want to go back because of the familiarity? If the money's the same, or, I don't know. I know you went to Florida. Your wife's from down there. Are there other considerations that would be in play?
Yeah, I mean, there's some of that. I feel like there's a familiarity with Detroit, and my situation there. I feel like being a leader on the team is something that you don't have to start all over again and earn the respect of your teammates, and that's a big part of it. I feel like but sometimes you're just up for a new challenge. It just depends on the situation, really. It's kind of like you say, cross that bridge when you get there. But I do love Detroit and everything they're about, and what Dan and Brad are really about.
So let's just talk about some of the factors, right? I mean, it's funny because I feel like fans think of money and how good the team is, and I think both of those are huge factors. But there are other factors like where you want to live and where family is, or I don't know, maybe other people on the team. What have you talked with your wife or your family at all about what are some of the other factors that would be in play? What are your priorities?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like she wouldn't give me her input just because she's a ride or die type. But it's just like this. What's the right situation for me as a player, and then also putting my family in a good position to be comfortable. Whether it's location, whether it's do we know other people on the team? It's just a mixture of all the factors, really. And then you decide what's most important to you, and what's the best fit for you and your family. And then obviously money comes along, like you said.
Do you have it's pretty early now, obviously free agency hasn't even started. I was going to say, do you have like a gut feeling about whether or not you'll be back in Detroit, or is it way too early for that?
I feel like there have been talks, with them, and it's just a matter of, it's just everything's going to unfold in the next few weeks. So it's hard for me to say, like, what's going to happen. But I feel like in the next few weeks, everything will unfold the way it's supposed to. And I know this time, I forget when I re-signed with Detroit, and then last year, I know it was the first couple of weeks of March before free agency. So we'll see what happens.
All right, there you go. Alex Anzalone with Ross Tucker. Give Ross credit. Let me say something about Ross Tucker. Ross Tucker is excellent. He's very, very good. He asked 4 questions about free agency. He was all over it. I've heard plenty of interviews with plenty of athletes where hosts or whomever tiptoe around the questions, don't want to ask, maybe ask one question about it and don't get to it. Ross was hammering him about it. I loved it. Not hammering him like mean, but like saying, what about this factor? What about that? And as you heard Alex say, we've had some talks. We'll see. A lot's going to depend on free agency. Bobby Wagner now being available. You got to believe the Lions would be interested in Bobby Wagner. Bobby Wagner's a 6-time All-Pro. No offense to Alex Anzalone, but you want to upgrade at middle linebacker, you go get Bobby Wagner. He's a better player than Alex Anzalone. Alex is a good leader, a good guy. You heard him say, loves Detroit, loves AG, loves Dan Campbell. But if you can upgrade at that spot and you're the Lions, you're going to do it. They're going for it now. But shout out to Ross. That was awesome. Really good job. And Alex Anzalone's first class for answering all those questions and saying, yeah, I mean, we'll see where it goes. I'd love to be back. Familiarity with the guys. We're building something here. So I thought that was really good too, to be quite honest with you. Good job by Ross Tucker and Alex as well. We'll see. My gut feeling tells me I don't think he's going to be back. I think the Lions are going to sign somebody else, and you'll hear the Mel Kiper mock draft. He's got him drafting a linebacker at 18. So we'll see about that. All right, new D-line coach for the Lions, new senior defensive consultant for the Lions, and the Kiper mock. All of that coming up next. All right, so the Lions have a new defensive line coach, and this kind of goes against what they've been doing recently. The Lions have been adding former player after former player, a lot of familiar names, a lot of NFL people, a lot of folks that have ties to Dan Campbell or Brad Holmes or whatever. But last night we saw this as it was first reported, I believe, up in Happy Valley, because James Franklin, the Penn State coach, made a statement about it. But John Scott Jr., Penn State's defensive line coach the last 3 years and their run game coordinator, is leaving Penn State to join the Lions. John has experience in the NFL. He was the former assistant D-line coach in 2015 and 16 for the New York Jets. He has coached the likes of Micah Parsons, and others at Penn State. Of course, Parsons is more of a linebacker, but he has coached some NFL D linemen and some guys that have experience. And everybody raves about John Scott Jr. And I saw a lot of folks on social media, Penn State fans, saying, they liked him a lot. So Lions dipping into the college ranks to replace Todd Wash, who of course left to go to Carolina, with John Scott Jr., who again does have some NFL experience with the Jets, but has been at Arkansas and Penn State and some other college stops, and now he's coming back to the NFL to work for Dan Campbell. So I thought that was interesting. Also, I saw this today. According to David Newton of ESPN, who covers the Carolina Panthers, former Panthers, Broncos, and by the way, failed Bears head coach, John Fox, is coming aboard as a senior defensive consultant for the Lions. Now, if you recall, a couple of years ago, Dom Capers had that same role for the Lions. But John Fox, 68 years old, not real popular in Chicago when he was the Bears head coach. It was kind of a disaster in 15, 16, and 17. But coming aboard as a senior defensive consultant. John Fox has a lot of experience. He did a very good job. I believe he took the Panthers and Broncos. Didn't he go to the Super Bowl with both? He might have. Did he win was he the Broncos coach when Peyton Manning won the Super Bowl? I might be brain dead, but I think he was. John Fox has a lot of experience and a consultant that can help the defense. It's been around the block. He's with the Colts last year. More the merrier. When you're talking about people with tons of NFL experience to come in and give their 2 cents. The defense needs a lot of help. I think they're going to come on this year. I think there's some good young players, some good young pieces. The Lions are going to address their needs in free agency and the draft on defense. But John Fox coming aboard, according to reports, to be a senior defensive consultant. All right, Mel Kiper Jr.'s 2.0 mock draft came out today, and we are about a month and a half plus away from the draft. Kiper had the Bears trading the pick to Houston, Bryce Young going number 1, Bears trading pick number 2 then to the Colts, C.J. Stroud going there, Alabama's Will Anderson to Arizona at number 3, Jalen Carter number 4 to Chicago. And then the Panthers trading up to take Will Levis at pick number 6. Tyree Wilson going number 5 to Seattle. So he has the Lions going from 6 to 9, trading with Carolina. And then at number 9, he has the Lions taking Christian Gonzalez, the cornerback from Oregon. Interesting there. Actually, excuse me. Will Levis goes at number 5 to Carolina. Carolina trades with Seattle. Then the Lions at 6 take Christian Gonzalez. My apologies. Kiper wrote, quote, I wrote in January this was a little high for the Lions to take a cornerback, but I've come around on the ceiling of this corner class. We could see 2 in the top 10. People I talked to in the NFL believe Gonzalez is going to test off the charts at the combine, and Devin Witherspoon and Joey Porter Jr. have a chance to be the number 1 corner as well. The 6'2 Gonzalez had a stellar 2022 season at Oregon, picking off 4 passes. Well, Lions need a corner. We don't know about Mike Hughes. Amani Oruwariye, you think, is probably going to be gone. Will Harris is a free agent, although I think the Lions will bring him back. What about Okudah and his bad second half? What I find interesting about this is if the Lions are going to take a cornerback at 6, to me, it's got to be Witherspoon. I think Lion fans will be pissed if they take Christian Gonzalez at 6. Now, at 18, what I find interesting is Kiper Jr. mocks Arkansas linebacker Drew Sanders to the Lions at 18. Sanders, by the way, 13.5 tackles for loss, 9.5 sacks last year, an interception and 3 forced fumbles, 39 pressures as well. 6'5", 230, can play everywhere. Kiper writes, Lions should double dip on defense in round 1, and Sanders, my top-ranked inside linebacker, would really help them. Again, this defense ranked near the bottom of the league in most statistical categories, so the Lions could go with the best defender left on their board. Sanders, a transfer from Alabama, stuffed the stat sheet in his lone season at Arkansas. Not many people I've seen have Drew Sanders going 18. Maybe late first round, even some have him going in the second round. But can rush the passer from the inside, from the outside. I'm a linebacker, Slappy. I wouldn't hate this pick. You get a corner at 6 and a linebacker at 18. I wouldn't be mad at that. I want Witherspoon at 6 if they're going a corner, not Gonzalez. But it would be interesting to see what the Lions do in free agent. If the Lions sign a free agent interior D lineman or a free agent edge or something like that, then I could see this scenario going with cornerback and linebacker. I still think this team is going to take some sort of D lineman at 6 or at 18. I still believe that. Whether it's interior or, outside. We'll see. All right. More from the Combine tomorrow. Working on some guests. It's Locked On Lions, Tuesday edition. Thanks for watching and listening, everybody.